It's
Uh-oh,
so
an
close.
HVAC engineer and an electrician walk into a barn. What are you two up to?
We're talking about the electrification movement and how that compares to fossil fuels.
It's a real movement, right? People are trying to electrify their entire houses. You see that?
More and more every day. So as we're building, and a lot of municipalities are requiring us to put in electric heating, electric cooling, prep for electric chargers, get everything ready to be purely electric. But the one thing to consider is that the majority of our electricity doesn't come from a renewable source yet.
Grid's
They're
not
working
always
on it, but it's not there yet.
Yeah, what are the sources of our fuel?
So propane, oil, and natural gas are the three that we see in most houses. That's how the heating's done in most of the areas of the country. And then you have obviously heat pumps that run on electricity, right? And so there are pros and cons to all these decisions. With fossil fuels, you always have a risk of backdrafting. There's a risk of a pipe leak, et cetera. So there's concerns there. With electric, it's nice because it's one source that powers up the entire house in terms of lights, receptacles, heat pumps for heating and cooling. But you have to do your homework in terms of knowing what the price for that electricity compared to your oil, natural gas, and propane options, because they're all billed separately. Right, so electricity is billed to you in price per kilowatt hour, right, and propane and oil are billed to you in price per gallon, and natural gas is billed to you in a price per therm.
Yeah, that gets complicated.
Right, so we want to put it on a levelized playing field, and so what we did is we created a chart. It's called a levelized price per kilowatt hour. So if you know your electric utility rate, right down here, and if you know your average efficiency for the heat pump over the heating season, you can figure out where you're at. So if you take the national average at 16 cents a kilowatt hour, and an average efficiency of a heat pump at 2.5, your net price per kilowatt hour is 6 cents.
And when you say the average efficiency of the heat pump, that's because the heat pumps are more efficient when it's warm out, but they start to lose efficiency, it gets really cold.
That's right.
So you take that into account, put it into the
we call that a seasonal COP, or effectively looking at what is it when it produces at 47 degrees versus at 5 degrees and averaging that over the heating season.
So that's keeping us honest.
That's right.
If we look at averages, is there like a headline that you can tell us?
Yeah, so in general, national averages, we see that electric with heat pumps is going to perform better in terms of your cost per kilowatt hour compared to LP, the propane option, and oil. So usually that will win in that situation. But natural gas gets a little bit interesting. In some cases, the price per kilowatt hour for natural gas is actually less. So you got to do your homework to figure out, and it really depends on where you are in the country.
Right, so if you're trying to do it based on just cost and not necessarily going green, natural gas really may be the way to go for you.
We've heard stories about people who have gotten rid of the natural gas, gone to all heat pumps, and they've been like, wait, my bill's higher.
My bill went up, why did it not go down?
That's exactly why the reason is. However, if you're building a new construction home, right, you can lock in a lower rate of electricity because you can have solar on your roof that's supplementing and providing the energy, the electricity for those heat pumps. So now you can get to net zero. But in most cases, that's going to be either a very high performance envelope that's super well air sealed to get the load down to then make it work with heat pumps and solar.
New home with efficiency and a little bit of electric on the roof, I can get that.
Makes perfect sense.
Let's just take that off the table because not everyone lives in, most people don't live in a new home. Let's talk about our existing homes where we got to go through this analysis for conversion. Like, can a homeowner figure this out on their own? Like this?
I think you need a pro to really at least do that calculation for you to get you started.
It does get complicated. That's why we made the charts to try to, put a step in the right direction, make it a little bit easier to understand, but it's still complex. And the other thing too is the existing infrastructure in the house, like how the existing house is heated and how the existing house is cooled does matter, right? So like if you have baseboard heating, right, you can, you might have a system that's designed for a very high temperature water supply. So there's a 160 or 180 degree Fahrenheit water that you need to supply. Heat pumps can't get you there yet. So the heat pumps might only be able to give you 120 degree water. So what ends up happening is we get to these what we call dual fuel hybrid systems, where the heat pump provides the majority of the heating, provides that 120 degree water to that radiator system as an example. But when it gets really cold out and we go below what we call the balance point, where the heat pump can't keep up with the heat loss of the building, then we bring on the existing oil, propane, natural gas boiler to supplement that energy.
It's a nice setup because you leave your existing system in place, but you're also getting the efficiency of the heat pump. So you can run that for the majority of the year. When it can't keep up, picture the heat pump as stage 1. Stage 2 kicks in when it's a 0 degree day, brings you back up to temp, and then when it's satisfied, turns back off.
So let me see if I can summarize. When it comes to price, electricity wins some of the time, not all of the time. If I want to go all electric, the best chance I'm going to be is if I have a new house with a little bit of solar. And then other than that, a retrofit's probably going to put me into some sort of a dual situation. Fair?
Basically, yeah. Unless you're doing a full kind of deep energy retrofit, they call it, where we're really air sealing and insulating that building well. But if you've got an 1860s house and try to get that to perform well, it's a massive cost to get
the return on
that
investment
building.
is just so far.
Cool. All right. Well, great information. Love the smart chats.
There you go.
Thanks for watching. This Old House has got a video for just about every home improvement project, so be sure to check out the others. And if you like what you see, click on the subscribe button. Make sure that you get our newest videos right in your feed.